Welcome to Co Outdoors. Today we're doing something very special, and it's going to make you instantly a better fisherman. If you learn the lesson I teach you today, you'll never come in without a limit of your fish that you're chasing. Today we're going to take a little class on understanding the movements of your bait fish. Bait fish are the most important food source for your game fish. It doesn't matter what you're after, what they eat is the most important thing that you need to know about. So let's say I'm going to do this as if I'm fishing for bass, and the first thing I need to do is be able to find them. And what am I looking for? I am looking for bait fish that are bunched up in a bunch. This can be shad, it can be silver, it can be shiners, it can be any type of bait fish bunched up. Even bluegill is an excellent one for huge bass. So let's do a couple of little facts about bait fish. Bait fish make up 45% of any biosystem. There is 45% more bait fish than any other type of fish in the lake. And the movements of these bait fish will be followed by a game fish. As the fish move, so does the game fish. So bass tend to school around and chase all of these bait fish around. Some of the best places to learn to fish on a lake is any channel or ditch. Does anyone know why? Because in these areas, it makes the bait fish ball up. It makes them have to get real small, and it makes it ideal areas to ambush and catch these. That's why you will find bass in these areas. So bait fish also will tend to move into shore at night, and they live in the shelters of cover, trees, stumps, grass. They get in there and they hide at night. They hide from the predators in there because they are at a major disadvantage at night. They have a hard time seeing. Has anyone ever wondered why in the fall you go down into the creeks, and the deeper the creeks the better? This is also because the fish are chasing the game fish. In the fall you have lots of rain, and what it does, it causes a big plankton bloom in the coves and in the backs of creeks. And these blooms is the food source for the minnows, and the minnows go in there and eat. So if you really want to be a real good fisherman and get ahead of the fish, figure out where the plankton blooms are going to happen, because you'll get ahead of the minnows. Eventually the minnows are going to move in there, and then you're going to catch. And when the minnows move in, shortly after, the big predators are going to move in. This is an awesome way to fish. So now that we know a little bit about where to find these bait fish, let's talk about the most important thing. What size bait should you use? I am going to talk about crankbaits because that is the most easiest way and best way to imitate a bait fish. In the spring, you should use smaller crankbaits because your shad or your shiners tend to be smaller in the spring because they're just hatching. As the season goes on, they grow like any other thing, and by summer, you have larger bait fish again. And so you should up your size of your lure. Crankbaits, you should use a larger crankbait. Right here in this corner of the screen is a little chart showing you different size crankbaits and what ones you should use. And then back into the fall, we are going to use smaller crankbaits. In the fall, we use smaller crankbaits because they go back up into the shallows and spawn again. So knowing what size bait you need is the key. And another thing about the spawning of shiners or any of these bait fish is they spawn at night. So in the morning, if you ever come out, you notice there's a bunch of minnows of these little tiny ones all over the place. That is a smallest bird. You have the best chance of catching the biggest fish right underneath those schools because they are eating those bait up as fast as they can. So since we're going into winter, let's talk about where to find our bait fish in the winter. In the winter, the water starts getting cold, and bait fish will migrate out of the shallows into the deep, and they tend to remain there until spring. So when we are going into winter, that is why we catch the most fish in the deeper water. They're just simply following the bait fish. This has been Co-Outdoors with a class on bait fish. I hope you have enjoyed it, and I hope it makes you a better fisherman. Until next time, I am your host of Co-Outdoors, Derek Cole. Later.